So, a little while ago, I created a concept as to what I think the Five Nights at Freddy's 2 movie intro would look like. Since then, I've had a few comments asking how exactly I created this concept. Well, I mostly had people asking if it was real, even though it says concept in the title, but whatever. So in today's video, I will be showing you how I put this concept together and how you could even make something similar yourself. Now, first things first. I knew I had to create all of the sprites that were going to be used in this concept, so the first thing I did was look at all the movie sprites that were in the first movie's intro, see if I could create the same sort of art style and look that they had, and the program that I used to create all of these sprites is Piscal, which is a free to use pixel art program with, a lot of cool features, and I'll make sure to leave the link for this in the description. Alright, so the first thing that I did was I started recreating the Freddy sprite that you can see in the first movie's intro. Now, the sprite doesn't look exactly the same as it does in the first movie's intro, but I didn't really think it mattered since this is just a concept and I didn't really want to just recreate it one-to-one anyway. This Freddy sprite is what I used as the basis for every sprite that you actually see in this intro, so the Bonnie, Chica and Foxy ones as well. I should also mention that it looks a little bit funny here because I haven't actually adjusted the proportions of the sprite yet, so it looks a little bit too long, but I did eventually fix that for the actual video, so yeah. So after doing that, I just copy and pasted the sprite a few times, and then I drew over that sprite to create Bonnie, Chica and Foxy. And this just helped me save a lot of time with, drawing up the bodies and stuff, and then you just recolor them and then change the heads. This method also helped me create the Wizard animatronics and the Toy animatronic sprites as well, because I already had the basis for the bodies, so I just had to change them just a little bit to make them look like the Wizards and the toys, so it saves a lot of time. Now to create the idle animations for these, I just duplicated the standard sprite, and then I made slight changes to the arms and the heads. And it adds this video game feel to it as they're standing there, which you can see in the intro. Now with the four main animatronics and Spring Bonnie out of the way, I now had to draw up and animate my own Five Nights at Freddy's 2 sprites. While creating these new sprites, I did have to try and replicate the same kind of art style that's in the first movie's intro, which was fairly easy to be honest because the pixel art isn't overly advanced, so it was pretty easy to just copy that kind of style. Now after I had finished animating the idle sprites and the walking sprites, I had to export them as GIF files because this would allow me to loop them in my editing software. Now always make sure that you export it at 4 frames per second, so that way the animation isn't too fast. After finishing up the animatronic sprites, I now had to create the environment sprites, like the pizzeria walls, flooring, arcade machines, chairs, tables. I followed the same rule of mimicking the first movie's art style, so it would all feel consistent. Another thing I should add is I also created the scanline minigame effect that you see on top of the sprites in the intro, and I drew up this design in Piscal, and the end result was pretty much perfect. So now I had to create the clips that would be played in the intro. I used a fairly simple editing software, Filmora 13, which allowed me to use and loop the GIF files. Most updated video editing softwares will work fine, but this is just what I used. I took all of the environment sprites that I had created and just placed them around to create a scene, just like you see in the video now. This part was fairly easy because all you really do is just place sprites around to make the scene. Now some of these scenes that I made for the intro concept do actually reference the first movie's intro. It's just a little fun idea I had before I was making this and I think it turned out pretty well. But if you want to make an intro like this yourself, you can just do whatever you want. It doesn't really matter, that's just what I did. With all the sprites and clips now finished, I had to think of a way to create that monitor effect that the first movie's opening had. Now I've had some experience with Blender, so I ended up using that by simply putting the rendered video of the minigame intro clips that I made as an image texture on a monitor model, and to create the light I just used an emission texture. Now this part's fairly easy if you have used Blender before because you just simply move the camera like it does in the first movie's opening, and with each clip you just change the angle of the camera. It's fairly simple. After exporting the final product of the intro, I now had to just do some finishing touches, just color grade it a little bit and create the opening cinematic as it zooms in on the picture of the puppet. And I just thought this would make a neat little reference to the first movie's opening with the Spring Bonnie drawing. Now, I matched my intro concept with an amazing cover of the FNaF movie theme made by Alexander Rose Music, so huge shout out to them for the music. I'll make sure to leave a link in the description to their channel as well. And that's basically how I created this FNaF 2 movie intro concept. Hope you all enjoyed this little behind the scenes video. I just thought I'd make this because so many people were asking how I actually made this, and this is how. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment down below and I'll try and answer them as soon as I can. Thank you for watching.